Welcome to My AI and I, the podcast where humanity meets technology. Today's episode, graduating into the AI apocalypse. Now what? So, if you're just graduating from college or are in your first couple of years in the workforce, there's a question that seems to be on everyone's mind. How do you build a career when the rules are changing so fast? I was talking to a recent grad the other day, and he was seriously concerned that he'd spent 4 years and a mountain of money training for a job that an AI is going to be doing better than him by Christmas. I couldn't help but think, man, when I got out of school, my biggest career fear was ending up in an office where the fanciest piece of technology was a fax machine that was always out of paper.
That concern is not just anecdotal, it's a statistically significant trend. Recent surveys from organizations like the Oliver Wyman Forum show that over 75% of Gen Z graduates are worried that AI will make their jobs obsolete. It's a dominant anxiety for this generation, and it isn't entirely unfounded. The data shows a measurable decline in entry-level white-collar job postings since the broad adoption of generative AI tools.
Right. So it's not just a vague feeling, it's actually happening. And you can't blame them for being worried. We tell them to go to college, get a good job, and the jobs they were promised are evaporating. When I started my first real job, half my day was what you'd call grunt work. Making copies, manually building reports, retyping things, all the stuff that teaches you the basics of how a business actually runs. You learn by being in the weeds. If AI is doing all that now, how does anyone learn to do anything?
That is the core of the professional development dilemma that many companies are now facing. Those routine, repetitive tasks have traditionally been the training ground for new professionals. Companies are now automating a significant portion of these roles. We're seeing it in data entry, basic customer service, and even the junior functions of financial analysis and software coding. One report from the World Economic Forum highlighted this disparity perfectly. It noted that tasks for a market research analyst could be over 50% automated, while the manager of that same analyst would only see about 9% of their own tasks automated. It effectively removes the bottom rung of the career ladder.
And that's the part that gets me. The bottom rung of the ladder is just gone. That's a huge problem, because if you don't start on that bottom rung, how do you ever learn enough to become the manager? Are we going to have a generation of senior executives in 20 years who have never actually done the work they're supposed to be overseeing? I mean, not that I didn't try to get out of the grunt work myself, but you have to at least know how it's done to lead effectively.
That is the long-term succession planning question that many HR experts are raising. The immediate effect is what some economists are calling a white-collar recession, where knowledge workers are being impacted more than other sectors. For instance, we've seen reports that large consulting and accounting firms have already started to slash their graduate recruitment numbers, explicitly citing the efficiency gains from internal AI platforms. They can now do the work of 5 entry-level analysts with just 1 or 2 supervisors and an AI tool.
Of course they are. From a purely business perspective, it's a no-brainer. Why pay a recent grad a full salary when you can pay a monthly subscription for an AI that does the work faster? It's ruthlessly efficient, I get it. But it also feels like we're pulling up the drawbridge on an entire generation. So what are these kids supposed to do? Everyone just keeps saying, oh, you just need to learn how to use AI. But that feels too simple. Is the new entry-level job just being the person who babysits the AI?
That is an oversimplification that, while popular, misses the larger point. AI literacy is certainly becoming a baseline requirement, much like knowing how to use a web browser became standard decades ago. However, the truly valuable skills are the ones that are difficult to automate. These are often called soft skills, but they have hard, tangible value. Critical thinking, creative problem solving, and genuine empathetic communication. An AI can draft a report from 1 million data points in seconds, but it can't sit in a tense meeting, read the room, and persuade a skeptical client.
Makes sense. The AI can give you the what, but it can't give you the so what. It can assemble the facts, but it can't build a narrative or create trust. So the advice for graduates isn't to become a master coder necessarily, but to get radically better at being a human. That's both reassuring and, deeply ironic. We've spent all this time building these incredible thinking machines, and the ultimate answer is to think better ourselves?
It is a paradox, and it requires a shift in educational focus. While some roles are disappearing, new ones are being created that sit at the intersection of technology and humanity. We are seeing the emergence of positions like AI ethics officer to ensure systems are fair, data storyteller one who translates complex data into compelling narratives, and prompt engineer who specializes in communicating with AI to get the best results. These are roles that didn't exist a few years ago. The job market isn't just shrinking, it's transforming.
Okay, so there are new jobs, but it sounds like those jobs require a level of expertise that you don't typically have straight out of college. An AI ethics officer sounds like someone who needs a decade of experience, not a fresh diploma. It still feels like there's a gap. How do you get from being a 22-year-old with a history degree to being the person who can do that data storytelling? Where's the new bottom rung?
That is the critical question. The new entry level may no longer be a specific job title, but rather a portfolio of skills and project based experiences. The new bottom rung might be a series of internships, freelance gigs, or even self initiated projects where a graduate can demonstrate their ability to use AI to produce a tangible outcome. For example, instead of just listing proficient in Excel, a resume might showcase a project where they used an AI to analyze a public data set and then built a compelling presentation on their findings. It shifts the focus from tasks I can do to problems I can solve.
So, the takeaway for the Gen Z folks listening is to stop thinking about a linear career path and start thinking like a contractor. Build a portfolio. Show, don't just tell. Lean into the stuff that college was supposed to teach you in the first place: how to analyze, how to argue a point, how to come up with an idea that no one has had before. The AI is just a tool. The goal is to be the person who knows what to do with that tool.
That is an accurate summary. The future of entry level work will likely be a dynamic partnership with AI. The most successful professionals will be those who can leverage these powerful tools to handle the routine tasks, which frees them up to focus on the higher level strategic thinking and creativity that remains a uniquely human domain.
And that brings up another question. We're talking about Gen Z, who are in college or just starting out. But what about the generation right behind them? Gen Alpha, the kids who are in middle school and high school right now. They're growing up in a world where AI is just there, like Wi-Fi. How do you prepare for a career landscape that we can't even really picture yet?
For Gen Alpha, the focus should be less on a specific subject and more on developing a fundamental intellectual toolkit. First is adaptive problem solving. They need to be taught how to approach a problem they've never seen before, using AI as a resource but not as a crutch. Second is interdisciplinary thinking. The most valuable insights will come from connecting ideas from different fields: art and science, technology and ethics. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, is fostering innate curiosity and a love of learning. The jobs of 2040 don't exist yet. The only way to prepare is to build a foundation of being able to learn, unlearn, and relearn constantly.
So, for the youngest generation, it's not about what you know, it's about how you think. That actually sounds a lot more durable than just learning the hot programming language of the year. All right, so for Gen Z, the apocalypse is postponed, it's just restructuring. And for Gen Alpha, the goal is to become apocalypse proof from the start. It's still a tough road, and we shouldn't pretend it's easy. But the key takeaway here is that you have more control than you think. It's not about being a victim of this change. It's about figuring out how to become the person who directs it. That's a road, not a cliff. You can navigate this. All right, That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to My AI and I.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time, everyone.
Hey everyone, if you liked this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.